2 Samuel chapter 10 is where we pick up. We ended last week on an emotional note as we looked at the story of Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, best friend of David, and he was crippled from a childhood accident, accidentally, which is what an accident is, and then shown incredible goodness by King David for, as far as we know, years and years to come, to follow, as he dined at the table, the family dinner table with King David and the rest of David's sons. And so he had he was granted a taste of what would rightfully have been his if Saul would have remained king. If Saul did not outstep his authority, his jurisdiction. So, it's chapter 10 gives us a interesting little segue, interesting little story between the story of Mephibosheth and of David's most famous sin with Bathsheba. That's going to be in the 11th chapter. So tonight, we're going to see if we can go through chapters 10, 11, and 12. They're quite significant. 11 and 12, that is especially. 10 is just an interesting one. And here we go. If someone would please read the first 5 verses.
Loudly.
Now it happened afterwards that the king of the Ammonites died, and Hanun his son became king in his place. Then David said, I will show kindness to Hanun the son of Nahash, just as his father showed kindness to me. So David sent some of his servants to console him concerning his father. But when David's servants came to the land of the Ammonites, the princes of the Ammonites said to Hanun, their lord, do you think that David is honoring your father because he has sent consolers to you? Has David not sent his servants to you in order to search the city, to spy it out and overthrow it? So Hanun took David's servants and shaved off half of their beards and cut off their garments in the middle as far as their hips and sent them away. When they told it to David, he sent to meet them, for the men were greatly humiliated. And the king said, stay at Jericho until your beards grow, and then return.
I think the beards were the least of their worries.
Yeah. So, if you remember King Nahash of the Ammonites, he's the one that his thing was, hey, I'm going to gouge out all your right eyes, and then you let us do that, and then we won't kill you. We'll just make you go blind, but you'd be our servants forever. Remember that? Saul got mad at that. They went to war over that. And but King David says that Nahash was nice to him. Do you remember Nahash being nice to him?
I don't remember that. Oh, to pass through the land?
It's a little unclear exactly when that was, but he says at one point he was. And then he died. And then it's his son, Hanun, who takes the throne. And as you just read, David sends some high-ranking diplomats to convey his condolences over his father's death. Well, that's a nice thing. And this young upstart, his advisors really poisoned his mind against David. And says, hey, why don't you just humiliate these guys? Now, why would you pick a fight with David? Who do you think you are to pick a fight with David? Does this guy thinks he's going to get away with it? That David's not going to... I mean, David's got a reputation. You know, killing a fly with a hammer. I mean, this is David. Well, I mean, you got the picture what this guy does. Shaves off half of their beards.
Yeah.
Okay? So they got a nice full beard, you know, like Mark Frost beard. Imagine Mark Frost with half a beard.
Nah.
And not only that, but they, you know, short sheet their shirts, you know, and no pants, just ha ha ha. Okay. And these guys are, you know, humiliated. And, you know, David says, stay out of sight until your beards grow back. That's a long time, probably. You know, don't know how long their beards were, but. So robes are cut off at the hips. They're exposed, waist down, humiliated. David's army is paying back with vengeance. And verse 6, let's just go 6 to 14. Somebody please.
When the people of Ammon saw that they had made themselves repulsive to David, the people of Ammon sent and hired the Syrians of Beth-Rahab and the Syrians of Zobah, 20,000 foot soldiers, and from the king of Maacah 1,000 men, and from Ishtob 12,000 men. Now when David heard of it, he sent Joab and all the army of the mighty men. Then the people of Ammon came out and put themselves in battle array at the entrance of the gate, and the Syrians of Zobah, Beth-Rahab, Ishtob, and Maacah were by themselves in the field.
Let me stop you for a moment. So what just happened?
Ammonites recruited the neighbors.
So the young king Hanun, he realizes, and all the Ammonites, once I'm sure they heard what their new king just did, they thought, we need some protection. And this is their attempt to go get some protection. And some other unwise, maybe, I don't know, overly confident kings start, you know, throwing at Hanun some troops. Yeah, you could have 20,000 of mine, somebody else, you could have 1,000, etc., etc. And they're all thinking, you know what? Yeah, we never liked David either. Yeah, we'll throw in with you. And they line up on the battlefield, just kind of waiting, because they know what's coming. they know you can't do that, and you can't make that kind of an insult and not expect something. Now they're expecting David not to just, you know, well, we're going to go in the middle of the night and find some of your men, Hanun. We're going to shave off half their beards. We're going to cut their pants off. No.
Oh, there's going to be
Oh no.
retribution.
How do these guys know when this is war's coming? How do they know that?
Because that's how David rolls.
Because that's how David rolls. Okay? So, I'm sorry. So keep going back. Thanks.
When Joab saw that the battle line was against him before and behind, he chose some of Israel's best and put them in battle array against the Syrians. And the rest of the people he put under the command of Abishai his brother, that he might set them in battle array against the people of Ammon. Then he said, if Syrians are too strong for me, then you shall help me. But if the people of Ammon are too strong for you, then I will come and help you. Be of good courage, and let us be strong for our people and for the cities of our God. And may the Lord do what is good in his sight. So Joab and the people who were with him drew near for the battle against the Syrians, and they fled before him. When the people of Ammon saw that the Syrians were fleeing, they also fled before Abishai and entered the city. So Joab returned from the people of Ammon and went to Jerusalem.
You know, there are things that tell you war is coming. There are insults and things given by one country to another that is a hint that things are going to go kinetic. You know, there's some things that have been hinted at us, there's some insults from China. You know, that they make fun of you. There's just certain things you hear, you know, now why are you talking that way? Because usually when you start to talk that way, your mind is already made up about something. And as the more you read it, you get the idea that these folks, they want war with David. David's general and his brother, you know, divide up the troops, and you know, you just heard what they said. Listen, if we find out that we're being outgunned, you know, if you are, and if we're winning on our front, we take care of ours, we're going to come to your aid. But if we're losing, you help us, right? Bring your soldiers our way. Sounds good. And seems like it was a pretty easy confrontation. The enemies are running. They were running away. Okay, well, a lot of bark, no bite. So 15, somebody 15 to the end.
The Arameans saw that they had been defeated by Israel. They gathered themselves together. And Hadadezer sent and brought out the Arameans who were beyond the river. And they came to Helam. And Shobach, the commander of the army of Hadadezer, led them. Now when it was told David, he gathered all Israel together across the Jordan and came to Helam. And the Arameans arrayed themselves to meet David and fought against him. But the Arameans fled before Israel. And David killed 700 charioteers of the Arameans and 40,000 horsemen, and struck down Shobach, the commander of the army, and he died there. When all the kings, servants of Hadadezer, saw they were defeated by Israel, they made peace with Israel and served them. So the Arameans feared to help the sons of Ammon anymore.
All right, so what happened there?
Against the Arameans.
Killed a lot of people.
Okay. And the Arameans, what happens there?
They got beaten and made a deal with David.
Okay.
They wouldn't fight against the or fight for the enemies.
We're not going to make the mistake of siding with these people again. You know, we're going to make friends with the guys that actually you made enemies of and got us to be enemies of. Okay. So, interesting story. But, you know, 40,000 horsemen wounded, the commander, he died. That's a big payback for having some of your guys have their beards and their shorts shaved off. But again, you know, I got to think, is this just David's temper? Well, no, because after Hanun's guys does this, they were cruising for boozing. They wanted to fight. They tried to supplement their army with other, you know, nations, and it just hits me as strange that you know, it's like the bully, you know, the playground bully that thinks he could whoop somebody and then gets himself whooped. So chapter 11 now. You kind of wish this was not in the Bible, but if somebody, please, would read, let's just say the first 13 verses.
In the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. They destroyed the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David remained in Jerusalem. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "Isn't this Bathsheba, the daughter of Elam?" and the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Then David sent messages to her. She came to him, and he slept with her. She had purified herself from her uncleanness. Then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent word to David, saying, I am pregnant. So David sent his word to Joab, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent him to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked him how Joab was, how the soldiers were, and how the war was going. Then David said to Uriah, go down to your house and wash your feet. So Uriah left the palace, and a gift from the king was sent after him. But Uriah slept at the entrance to the palace with all his master's servants, and did not go down to his house. When David was told Uriah did not go home, he asked him, haven't you just come from a distance? Why didn't you go home? Uriah said to David, the ark and Israel and Judah are staying in tents, and my master Joab and my Lord's men are camped in the open fields. How could I go to my house to eat and drink and lie with my wife? As surely as you live, I will not do such a thing. Then David said to him, stay here one more day, and tomorrow I will send you back. So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. At David's invitation, he ate and drank with him, and David made him drunk. But in the evening, Uriah went out to sleep on his mat among his master's servants. He did not go home. In the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it to Uriah. In it, he wrote, put Uriah in the front line where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw from him, so he will be struck down and die. How far do you want me to go?
You know what? Go to a 17.
Okay. So while Joab had the city under siege, he put Uriah at the place where he knew the strongest defenders were. When the men of the city came and fought against Joab, some of the men in David's army fell. Moreover, Uriah the Hittite died.
Okay. So, I don't know how familiar you are with this passage. You've probably heard it many times and studied it, heard messages about it.
VeggieTales did a good bit on it.
And VeggieTales, learned everything you need to learn. But, it's interesting. The very first verse, what you're learning is that, David wasn't where he should have been. David's he's a fighter. He likes a good fight. He likes to lead in battle. That's what he does. That's his reputation. That's what he does. He's known for this. It's why he is who he is. It's how he got his fame when he was first, working with Saul and had some victories. Saul put him over some bigger armies and then even over the entire army because this he's an ace. And it's time to go out and just kind of flex muscles again. It's that time. It's spring. It's the time when kings go out to war. That there was a time if you had a battle against somebody, yes, this is the time to do it. David's thinking, I'm going to sit this season out. Why?
Why?
I don't feel like fighting. I just want to hang out. I just want to be at home. What's going through his mind? He puts Joab, over the army. He says, "You take it back. You try this now. It's your turn. You experience it. Maybe I'll join you on the next battle, but go for it." And he does. He's a guy under command, and he leaves. And David's got nothing to do. Idle hands.
The devil's playground.
Okay. And so David does what all of us have done from time to time in various settings, where we're not about the work we should be about. We're not doing what we should be doing. And maybe we're confident we're enjoying maybe some success. Maybe we're thinking, I don't need to work so hard. I don't need to keep defending the kingdom or your own life. Maybe your own purity. David's just not in a place where he's defending. Do you catch that? He's not going to defend his own land. And he's not defending himself. You're connecting the dots. Usually when we fail in one area, there can be something that stretches in various areas of our lives. And so he's unguarded. In many ways. And he loses focus, doesn't he? He's no longer this driven, we have a nation to protect. We've got, this thing to defend. We've got a kingdom to keep building. He's lost that. Maybe he thought, this is big enough, this is good enough for now. I can take a break. I don't know what he's thinking, but we've all been there from time to time. Use your own autobiography and just think of whenever you might have gotten into trouble. You were where you shouldn't have been. You were probably not doing what you should have been doing. If you were doing what you should have been doing, what you're called to do, you wouldn't have had this extra free time to just kind of, just start thinking the wrong things. Even to maybe get a little overconfident. I think we see something going on here with David. He's just kind of fat and sated and happy and laying on a couch and kind of enjoying the good life. I got a nice house. God just told me he's going to put one of my sons, on my throne. He's going to build, a house, the temple for God. I'm in good. When you start thinking that you're really close to God and everything's great, it's amazing how quickly you can become distant from God. He's not even guarding his relationship with God. He takes God's blessings for granted. He's clearly just taking his own position for granted. And he puts a lot of things in jeopardy. This is what we do. And he's kind of strolling around, and he, out probably admiring his king. Now he's up high in some nice fancy house or castle or wherever we don't have the architectural renderings of what he lived in, but clearly he's at least one story above a story, below him where he's seeing this lady buck naked, taking a bath. Now the question is, did she know David was home? Does she know that he has got a bird's eye view of her rooftop? Now she knows her husband's gone. David finds out her husband's gone. David asks somebody, hey, who's that? Now my guess is maybe, I don't know, he's getting real carnal, and maybe, the servant he asked, he goes, hey, come here, take a look at this. What do you think? Who? Do you know who that is? Go find out for me. Or, maybe he just said to somebody, without looking out the window with this person, hey, there's a house, blah, 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 down the block, whatever, right here. Could you find out, who lives there? Now, here's what's interesting. Word comes back, and the servant says, oh, it's Bathsheba. She's the wife of Uriah the Hittite. Oh. Would you summon her for me? I need to talk to her about something. It doesn't say, would you go get her because I want to sleep with her? Right? Right? He just says, again, this was interesting. Verse 2, it happened. That right there is it. It happened. Oh, okay. it happened. Think of those two words. Oh boy, here it is. Late one afternoon when David rose from his couch. He was relaxing. He was walking on the roof of the king's house, just looking over his kingdom. He sees this woman. Oh, she's beautiful. Sends someone to inquire about the woman. Who's the lady that lives in that house? Oh, it's Bathsheba, daughter of Eliam, wife of Uriah the Hittite. Flip over to chapter 23 and look at verse 29. And what you come to is the end of the list of David's mighty men. There are the three very famous great warriors. They're the Bruce Lees of the day. The rest are his ninjas. And who's the last one? Verse 39. Okay? So, there's 37 in all of these mighty men. But there's these guys that make up this, this incredible group. Verse 24, among the 30, okay, there's the 30 mighty men. But these got some extras when you add in some of these other top fighters. But Uriah the Hittite is the last one mentioned. No, wait. No, does David know Uriah? He's mentioned, even though he's dead now at this point, when his name went in the roster. He's spec ops. You think King David knows his special ops team?
Maybe.
They're called his mighty men. I personally believe, he knew David, Uriah the Hittite. I'm guessing he knew the wife. I think you would know the spouses of your best men. Now maybe not. But, back to chapter 11. She, verse 4, came to him and said, "Don't touch me, don't do this, we can't do such a thing like this."
She laid with him.
He laid with her. Now, I think it's on purpose that we don't read her denying it. Again, she's on the roof. I am fairly certain that was on purpose. I think she probably had hots for the king. I just wonder what she would have thought. There's a lot of people that, they call the casting couch. There's people that, you hear their stories later, they show up in court, so-and-so, this senator or whoever slept with us and promised if we did, we'd be able to have this and whatever. And so, oh my goodness, David's one of them? Well, on this one occasion. And verse 5, the woman conceived and sent word to David, so she herself didn't do it. She told somebody, one of the servants, to go tell him, would you tell the king I'm pregnant? Oh, really? Oh, great, how great. You and Uriah, you having a kid? Just tell him I'm pregnant. Yeah, he'll know whose kid it is. Now, how much time do you think has gone by? Because it pretty much says slept with her. Then she returned to her house. It says, verse 4. Then she returned to her house. So it was a one-time fling. Sometimes the worst things happen on the one-time fling. Oh, I can mess with this once. It won't burn me. I won't get in trouble. I'll just try it once. I'll be fine. It's not like it's a habit. It's just one time. How many people have tanked their lives on one?
Just one time.
Okay, so he does the one-time fling with her, the one-night stand. And some time has gone by, because now she knows she conceived. I don't know. How would she know she conceived? How would she know she's pregnant?
At least 6 weeks.
Not necessarily.
Not 6.
Somehow she's going, okay.
No more
So at least a month went by, I'm not getting my period. Maybe she waits another month. I know, still not there. Maybe another month. A little pooch is forming. Uh-oh. I don't know. But sends word. So David immediately, look at how fast he does this. Verse 6, what did he do? He sends word to his general out on the front lines. Hey, send me this particular soldier, Uriah the Hittite. David is quick. Now, what do we do when when all of a sudden we find out, I did something wrong? We cover our tracks. We try to fix it. How often does that turn out well?
Yeah, right.
How often you fix a mistake with a worse one? What is abortion?
The worst one.
It's okay, somebody got pregnant, okay, got something out of her, whatever, okay. And so let's fix it with abortion. Okay, that's the easiest thing to pull out of the air. But just think of any sin. Sins are sins. And you try to cover one sin. If you try to cover a sin, you're covering a sin with a sin, usually. And David goes right for the jugular. He is, wow. Why does he do this? He goes to the extreme. I need to commit murder to cover my ground. And he's already thinking what he's going to do. And you already read what he thought he would do. Okay, so the first thing is, go get me Uriah. Okay. Uriah shows up. Hey, buddy, I just wanted to find out from you, a stranger. I don't know, you were private, but I just wanted Joab to give me a report from the front lines. How's it going? How are we doing? No, again, I think David knows him.
He's a neighbor.
And so he says, Uriah, buddy, hey, I just wanted to talk to you, one of my favorite soldiers. How's the battle? How are we doing? Doing good. Hey, listen, since you're back from the front, before going back, hey, hang out with me tonight. Can we have dinner? Sure. 5 o'clock? Sure. Starts to do what? Get him drunk. Why? Now this is what's interesting. Yeah, how's the people fair? How's the work going on? He tells him, listen, as long as you're here, why don't you go home and spend the night at your house tonight? Assuming the soldier who's been gone for a while, he and his wife are going to be physically intimate, right? But Uriah sleeps at the entrance of the king's house. There's respect there. He's sleeping where the servants sleep. And verse 10, when whoever the they is, they told David, hey, you asked David to go to his own house. He didn't go there. We saw all night. He stayed actually right here. So what's he do?
Did he really drunk?
Questions him, hey, why didn't you go to your house, buddy? Come on, you're here. Uriah says to David, verse 11, listen, the ark, remember this whole thing from a couple chapters ago. The ark is still in a tent. How in the world can I go to my home? My fellow soldiers are in tents out, they're sleeping in the desert, right? They're sleeping under tanks. They're sleeping on top of jeeps. How in the world can I enjoy a night at home and even some physical intimacy, some pleasure with my wife? I can't do that. I can't do that. That's going to dishonor me and them and God. Oh my goodness. He is a better man than David.
Yes, he is.
Then what?
David said, let's have dinner.
Let's try it again. He's just trying to weaken him. Did you catch this?
Trying to weaken him.
David somehow has already become weak. Of his own doing, or somebody else helped him, I don't know. But what he's trying to do is make a strong man weak. He's trying to make a man with character weak. Like him. And the guy's saying, as long, as you live, O king, and as your soul lives, I will not do such a thing. Oh boy. And then David, he goes a rung lower. Listen, tomorrow I'll send you back. I'll let you go back to the war because you obviously want to be there. I'll send you back to the war because you want to be there, fight alongside your guys, and I get it. I've been there. I know. And have dinner with me again, etc. Invites him back to the house, makes him drunk. He made him drunk. No, did you catch that? Verse 13. David invited him to eat and drink in his presence and made him drunk. And in the evening, he went out to lie on his couch with the servants of his Lord, but he didn't go down to his house. Uriah has got so much character, even when he's drunk, he doesn't compromise. The whole idea of alcohol is that it causes you to compromise, lower your standards, cave in, do things otherwise you wouldn't do. Isn't this interesting? So, David goes, all right, oh boy, there's only one thing left to do. I need to get rid of the evidence. Because the plan, of course, is, think about this. First plan is, with the timing of this, she's pregnant, trusting people won't do the math whenever this baby is born, and says, wow, that was an 8-month gestation, or 7 months, wow, baby came early, premature labor. Joab, Uriah, come on home, sleep with your wife. Great, I'm covered. Because, hey, it's just kid. Looks like me, but hey, that's interesting. But hey, congrats to you guys. That would have worked for him, he thinks. Uriah doesn't cave on his morals. And so David goes, okay, my clock is, this is very interesting. The clock is ticking. I'll have him killed. I'll marry his wife because it'll make me look good. I'm going to take care of my buddy's grieving widow, who happens to be pregnant. And I'll just be the father to Uriah's kid. He died over in Afghanistan, didn't get to, be home for the birth of his kid, and that's it. I wonder if he'll buy that one. Or is he thinking, okay, maybe people aren't going to do the math. Have Uriah killed. I'll marry Bathsheba immediately. We'll consummate the marriage. And, hey, we're having a kid. And we did it in order. Married, pregnant, baby. And they make everybody think they did it right. What was his thinking?
His thinking was cover my butt.
CYA.
Okay. So as you know what happens, verse 14, he writes a letter to Joab saying what to do. And who delivers it? He has Uriah carry his own death sentence. Wow! So David, this is David. How can he go so low? How can you and I?
How evil can we get?
Listen. Boy, be humble, lest you fall if you think you're standing. For the grace of God, so go I. It's amazing where maybe some of us have been. I don't know, in a room this size, there's things that are secrets and I'm not going to ask anybody to expose anything, but there's things you might have secret to this day. You got something. You covered and somehow you got away with it so far. And I'm not asking anybody to say it. Just, you understand David's predicament. You might even understand, wow, you're not necessarily shocked at what the lengths David goes to cover his sin because of the lengths you went to cover yours. And sometimes it revisits your memory, and it keeps you up at night. And maybe you're still hoping nobody will find out that you have a fear. Well, what if something happens, a year from now, 5 years, 10 years from now? People find out, somebody finds out. It's a scary place to be. And so David, you imagine, he's in a panic. He's trying to come up with the best plan he can as a fallen human being who already started making some terrible choices. And the problem is when you make some terrible choices and you alone continue to make choices, because it doesn't sound like he got counsel. He didn't right away go to somebody who, Nathan the prophet's going to visit him in the next chapter. He doesn't go, Nathan, oh my gosh. He doesn't just begin to weep. Oh, you wouldn't believe what I did. You wouldn't believe what I did. You wouldn't believe what I did. He doesn't call out and say, oh God, have mercy. Oh God, oh God, oh God, what did I do? What did I do? What do I do? I mean, what could have David have done? Begged, fallen before Uriah. Uriah, you should have gone out to the battle line, fallen in front of Uriah. Uriah, you wouldn't believe what I did. Oh, buddy, you would not believe what I did. Would you ever forgive me? He doesn't fall before God. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. Oh no, he's an island, right? No man is an island. Well, this guy is. He's the Lone Ranger, and he's trying to fix his own problems, and there's no spiritual help, and he's only getting worse. And now it is going to cost not only one life, it's going to cost two. If you know the story. So we'll keep going. What time we got? Okay. So, as the story goes, Joab gets the letter. How scary. I wonder what Joab would have thought when he got this letter. Oh, it's from the king? Oh, thanks, Uriah. Opens it up. Hey, listen, Joab, I need you to take Uriah out. I want you to put him in the front of the line where the battle's rates you the worst, and then, when things are bad, and some of our guys are already getting killed, literally. When some of our guys are already dying, they back off, get everybody back, and then keep him and other folks just to, leave them to their own, they'll die in battle. Now, he doesn't even, does he explain to Joab, Joab, I need to cover my back end. I really sinned. This guy who just gave you the note, buddy Uriah, I just slept with his wife, got pregnant. I don't think that didn't seem to be in the letter. Now, Joab, for some reason, doesn't question. I wonder when he's reading the letter, and then he's looking at the letter carrier, and he's going, and looking at Uriah thinking, you obviously don't know the content of this letter, do you? Okay, thanks, Uriah. Thanks for carrying this. I'll talk to you soon. I got a meeting. And then arranges for his death. Joab carries out his orders. Why? He carries out King David's orders without question. Why? He's a soldier. He's a man under command. He's thinking, well, David's got a reason. My job is not to question it. But you'd think, wait, why am I taking out one of our own guys? I mean, you'd think he'd still ask. Or at least I'm sure he thought it, but again, don't have all the information, but as you know, Uriah is killed in battle. Joab sends word back to David. Did you see how he sends this note back? He tells the messenger to tell David, when you have finished telling the king all the news about the fighting, then if the king's anger rises, because we're taking a lot of casualties here, so that he's not mad at me or whatever, then if he says to you, why did you go so near the city to fight, did you know that they are right there on the wall, the archers, and they're going to just fire down on our guys, the higher ground is where you really will win a battle. Et cetera, and just, it's very interesting. Then you'll say, your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. So if King David starts reaming you out, just say these magic words. Your servant, or Uriah the Hittite, is dead too. And then, David would go, oh, gosh, that's terrible. Oh, such
Tragedy. Leave me alone. Leave me by myself so I can grieve.
Verse 22, messenger goes, messenger tells David, what happened. Archer shot at your servants from the wall. Verse 24, some of the servants are dead, including Uriah. David said to the messenger, I want you to send a word back to Joab. Don't let this matter trouble you. Do you catch this? For the sword devours now one and now another. Pressure attack on the city and overthrow it. And encourage him, okay? Did you catch that? Don't let this, is it code language? Is it, it's none of your business about this thing with Uriah? It's just, is it code language that's going back to Joab? Listen, there's casualties in war, Joab. My heart goes out to you, buddy, for the men that you lost in your battalion. Gosh, my heart goes out to you. David is cold. How does a guy like this get this cold? How do you and I get so cold?
Self-serving.
Huh?
It's self-serving.
Right? Absolutely, self-serving. Then 26, did you go to 26?
You kind of know.
Did I have you stop?
I stopped at 17.
Oh, sorry. Are you following with me? You following?
Yeah, we're with you.
That's right. Sorry.
The one thing I noticed is David isn't spending any time with God.
Is he what?
He's not spending time with
No.
God.
Never.
And when we're not spending time with God, that's when we get into trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the great
Or we
Solomon.
hide from him when we want to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because we don't
Attempt
want
to.
Like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, in the Psalms, early in the Psalms, he talks about, I believe he makes reference to his sins, this time in his life. But the vast majority of the Psalms that he wrote were written after this incident. So keep that in mind. I mean, he learned his lesson and he learned to stay close to the Lord. He goes, oh my gosh, what I can become. Any of us can become a dragon. We can become a demon. It's amazing what we are capable of.
Yes, it is.
He could have been having, since the chapter 11 follows the war, he could have been having burnout, which caused his heart to just start getting hard.
Sure. Yes. Sure.
People go through enough things, they just start getting harder and harder.
Yeah. Right? I agree. Well, verse 26, when the wife of Uriah heard that her husband was dead, she made lamentation for him. And I don't know how long she did. I'm gonna guess it was fairly legitimate, that she had genuine grief. And I'm sure, you think about this. I want you to think about it. Her husband died on the battlefield. She never got to see him, and she knew what she had done. And how is she feeling? Do you think she had relief? Oh, good. Phew, I don't have to tell my husband what I did.
I think she felt awful.
Guilt.
I'm guessing she felt horrifically, guilty. Tremendous, unspeakable guilt. Thinking, what did I do? And my husband, who's faithful, who's out there on the battlefield, ready to die for our country, die for me, etc., servicemen, women are ready to do. And then she's home screwing around, gets pregnant with a king. Oh my goodness, the commander-in-chief. Do we get the picture of this whole story? The scope? This is huge. And so she grieves. I wonder what was all involved in her grieving. I wonder if she was ever like suicidal. But then she thought, I got a baby I got to deliver, and she wasn't going to take her life. When the morning was over, David sent and brought her to his house. She became his wife. She gave birth to the son. Now, it is 8 o'clock. I'm sorry I spent so much time on 11. Did we spend too much time on it? Because boy, 12 is important. Can you hang on to next Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting what happens next. We're going to see, I think we're going to see such an amazing story of now how God confronts David. Because God's been watching the whole thing. But, and there's a price to pay. And David will pay a price. There's a price to pay for sin. Some of it's just the repercussions of sin. Sometimes, God goes, I don't have to add anything to your sin. Your sin itself brings natural consequences. I don't have to add to it. I mean, you're going to reap them, and he does, and the whole nation's going to find out about it. Public humiliation, right? No, he has no idea how big this is going to go. And then we're going to watch him grieve over his sin, and then we're going to watch him be done grieving and get on with life and becomes the man he, for a while, wasn't. And I simply want to say, as we close tonight, that I may wish to have seen David grieve harder and longer than he did when we get to it next week, if you don't already know what it is. But he has an interesting relationship with God. It's very intimate. I think he grieves really hard. He gets the grieving done with, and he realizes, okay, now there's no productivity with further grief. I'm going to trust God for the future. I know what I did. I own it. I fully own my sin. I've processed it to the point of full repentance, and I'm allowing God, if it be his will, to restore me. And it was. And he gets back to what he should be doing. And he only becomes a greater king. Just in history. Now, I will say that coming in the next chapter, chapter 13, comes the rape of his daughter Tamar by one of his sons.
Mm-hmm.
There, all of a sudden you see dysfunction in the family.
Serious.
And it's very interesting what we're going to see now in the chapters ahead. And there's a grieving for David, but there's going to be some eye-opening things about David. Who he was, and I think we'll just get a little more clarity about the good in David and the not so good in David, and take warnings for ourselves. But it's also good to remember God loves David to death. God chose David to be king, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And when God makes a choice, it's amazing what he does. When God makes a covenant with somebody, it's amazing what God does.
Over the nation.
God loves you enough because you're his kid, he'll discipline you. But then he's going to get you back up on the road, get you moving. So with that, we'll end. Thanks for coming out tonight.